It is 1:30, and I will call our May 14th meeting to order. All commissioners are present. We will go around and do introductions. We'll start with
Lisa Middlestorf, Port of Morrow.
Mark, Kelly Morgan, I'm Weston.
Brandon Morrow, Port of Morrow.
Chad Snyder, Fort Morrow.
Anna Brown, Port of Morrow. Haley Davis, AWS. Troy Briggs, Chamber BCA, Port of Morrow, Stage Target.
Dick Madison, Madison Ranches. Greg Reader, Madison Ranches.
Mike Hughes, Gordon Park.
Took that Fort Morrow.
Eric Moore, Port of Morrow.
And then online, yes, please.
Okay, we'll start with Sam.
Sam Tucker, Port Attorney.
You, John Doherty,
John Doherty, City of Hebner.
Brandon,
Brandon Hammond, City Manager, Boardman.
you, Griffin,
Griffin Beach, Elkhorn Media.
thank you. Now. Okay, we'll move on to Ryan.
Hey everyone, Ray Gleason, contract lobbyist for the Port of Morrow.
Kirby. Are you there, Kirby?
Yep, I'm here. Kirby Garrett, CFM Advocates.
Thank you.
That looks like that's everybody. Okay, is there any public comment? Sorry, that's okay. So with that, moving on to our consent agenda, we have 3 items on that agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move to present and approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
John, excuse me, Rick has moved, and John seconded. Any other discussion on that item? So here now, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries now. Okay, legislative updates. See, we got Kirby on there. Kirby, you got the floor if you'd like.
All right. Apologies, working through some technology stuff here, but yes, good afternoon, everybody. Great to see you all. It is quite a time in Washington, D.C. We are in the thick of the reconciliation process. As a reminder, that is the legislative procedure that Congress can use to pass legislation using just a simple majority in both chambers, basically sidestepping the filibuster. And if one party controls each chamber, they can pass it with votes from only their party. There's a lot of limitations to what can be included in that. Everything has to have a budgetary impact. But this is basically what Republicans are using to try to pass what they've been calling the one big, beautiful bill that would accomplish a lot of President Trump's campaign promises. And we are at the point now where House Republicans are actively writing these bills, holding hearings and markups on them, and trying to push them forward. Basically, we're looking at a $3.5 to $4 trillion bill, includes steep spending cuts to help pay for the bill, boosts defense spending, border security spending, makes energy reforms, and much, much more. It's very, very wide spanning. But it is definitely a political tightrope walking type of exercise. Conservative Republicans think it doesn't cut enough spending. More moderates think it's cutting too much. And then there's Republicans from blue states that want to see an expansion of the state and local tax deduction, SALT deduction, which has been a really big issue. And then further complicating things is the whole debt ceiling issue. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that needs to be addressed by August to avoid us defaulting on paying our bills, basically. And that essentially puts a deadline on getting this bill done, passed out of Congress and to the president for signature. So it is very complicated. And then, the House is putting all of this work into it. A lot of Senate Republicans have basically said, yeah, you guys continue your work on that. Once it gets over here, we're going to basically rewrite the whole thing. So expect a lot more updates on this, a lot more news coverage. And yeah, no matter how how things shake out, it's going to be quite a challenge for both chambers to get this done, but there's certainly a lot of political momentum behind it. While they are working on that, House and Senate committees are also holding hearings on the fiscal year 2026 spending bills, and we'll soon be putting pen to paper on actually writing those bills and holding their markups. This is also going to be a really big challenge. President Trump submitted his skinny budget, what they call it, in the president's first year, submitted to Congress a few weeks ago. And let's just say it was pretty skinny in a lot of ways. There were some programs, many that are actually important to us at the port, that would actually see funding boosted. Many other programs would be slashed or completely eliminated. So House and Senate committees, they usually just ignore what the president puts forward in their budget. I think, we're kind of in a different era here where obviously congressional Republicans are seeking to mimic what the president is proposing in a lot of ways. So we'll see how they handle it. But if they do try to reflect what the president put forward in their bills, it's going to make it very difficult to reach a compromise with Democrats, which is needed to overcome the filibuster in the Senate. You need Democratic support. Either way, we expect to see both the Senate and House markups held probably next month, if not July. And at that point, we'll see their proposed text, and that's when we learn what community-initiated projects or earmarks are in those bills, and we'll see which of the ones we put forward have made it in. On a last note here, one of the programs that would actually be significantly boosted under the budget that the president put forward is the Port Infrastructure Development Program, or PIDP, which is administered by MARAD. That won't affect the current round that we are pursuing, but it is encouraging to see that the administration is supportive of this program. We just submitted a grant application to PIDP for engineering, design, permitting for Terminal 3 and reinforcements to the gantry crane. And then right before we submitted that application, the administration actually released some changes to the grant solicitation. And so we'll kind of have to submit a secondary package making some revisions to address the administration's priorities and what they'll be considering. So anyways, we're working through that process, and we expect to hear news on that program and their award selections at some point this fall. So we've got some time, but we are submitted and in the running there. There is a lot more I could dive into, but I will just keep it at that. And as always, happy to take any questions.
Questions for Curtis? I think we're good here. Everybody keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay, so, and we have Ryan on.
Hi,
You ready to go?
everyone. Yes, I'm ready to go. Thanks, Commissioner. Hi, everyone. Great to see you. Ryan Gleason with CFM Advocates. So we are in the final third of the legislative session, which is music to my ears. And the legislature is really trucking along. So we had some major news a couple weeks ago. The passing of Senator Aaron Woods led to the appointment of new state Senator Courtney Neron-Mislin. That has some implications for the legislature trying to pass a transportation package, which is one of the top priorities that they are trying to go after this session, or at least Democrats. With former Representative Neron moving to the Senate, that takes away the 36 votes that they would have needed to pass a transportation package, a revenue raising bill, without any Republican support. So until they get a member in that seat, they are unable to do that without the support of Republicans. Additionally, today they formed a new committee to circumvent committee deadlines for passing a transportation package. So it was announced that there will be a new committee. It's the same makeup of all the legislators on the transportation committee. And hopefully by next week, we will see House Bill 2025 drop, which will be the first draft of the transportation package. Today was the May revenue forecast, and that is what legislators will use to make final budget decisions before the close of session, which is constitutionally mandated to end on June 29th, 160 days after the start of session. And if you were looking for funding or advocating for state programs, the forecast was less than ideal. The state will have 755 million less general fund and lottery fund revenue to spend compared to just 3 months prior. So really tough budget decisions lie ahead as the state's going to have to put forward a balanced budget before the close of session. Just yesterday, many from this community gathered in Salem to present to the Senate Natural Resources and Wildfire Committee. Apologies for the noise. I am in the Capitol to discuss nitrate reduction efforts in the lower Umatilla Basin. The committee heard from a broad panel of state agency representatives across DEQ, ODA, OHA, and more. And then they heard from a few panels of actual local community members, including folks from Umatilla County, Tamara Mabbott, Isabel Gonzalez from the Clean Water Consortium Advisory Committee, J.R. Cook, and our very own Commissioner Taylor. The panels did a really great job sharing with the community the work that has been done thus far in the basin from a local perspective and what's needed from the state. And the overwhelming response was resources and support of local efforts. So that was really wonderful that folks could make the trip to Salem to share the great work going on in the community. It was also an opportunity to highlight the Clean Water Consortium's legislative request for $2.8 million to connect the West Glen neighborhood to the city of Boardman public drinking water system. That's one of our top priorities this session to get forward, to get funded, excuse me. And the next steps for this hearing that happened is to have a tour. The committee is planning on eventually coming out to the port, to the region, to tour the port and local farms to see things on the ground, everything that they heard about, but to physically be here on the ground. This leads into just conversations around the governor's groundwater protection bill. That's really what the committee was kind of trying to highlight yesterday. That's Senate Bill 1154. Those conversations have been continuing. The governor's office continues to meet with a broad group of stakeholders, including us. We've really stayed in our lane, focusing on how the bill would impact reuse permits, specifically with DEQ. We've continued to provide valuable feedback, and we look forward to reviewing the next iteration of the bill, which we expect to see an official version of that next week. Another critical bill that we've been tracking is Senate Bill 1153, which would change the water rights transfer process in Oregon. A narrow negotiating table has been set by the governor's office and the co-chairs of the Water Caucus. Up until this point, there have not been able to identify issues with the process beyond tribal unadjudicated water rights, which many at the table agree is an issue that we need to address, but not the broader bill. Municipal governments specifically have been able to point to a lot of instances where environmental impact, the review process is working. So that's really important. Those are some of the major things going on impacting the Port of Morrow. I've been keeping Lisa and the rest of the team up to speed. There's been no movement on the SIP bill yet, but that is something that I am tracking closely as well. So happy to take any questions, and thanks for having me today.
Any questions for Ryan? I've got one. So when we were there yesterday, was that not normally the way they would do that? Would they take this testimony at a different time? That's kind of the impression I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Usually they would take testimony on a bill. Yesterday was an informational meeting, so it was just around a topic, and you were an invited person for that topic, and then they structured panels around that. I think that answers your question.
Yeah, it would.
And so I guess, maybe I do have a question. So the testimony was for what again, yesterday, Joe?
A lot of it was on Laguarma. There was state agencies there too.
And that local efforts.
Yeah. And mine touched on a little bit stuff that the forest erosion. I think Bill talked about with some like that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Okay, moving on to old business, next is CDA update. On there, at our last meeting, Director Smith told the board that he was gonna hold off on moving forward with the road, on construction of a road. Just for the fact that, his budget isn't secure. And he didn't want to get ahead of, and then not have his budget or contributions to the CDA not come through.
Question, and I guess you're talking about the $7 million grant.
Yeah,
Has, I guess IRC's been paid for their work?
as far as I know.
Okay, that's good. So he wanted to put a hold on, I read that article that was in our packet here. Why did he want to have a hold? The state's doing something different?
I don't think so. I think he just wanted to shore up the CDA itself,
Okay.
to make sure that.
We haven't, it's not clear whether we will be able to pay our bills, or at that point. Whether there would be any, I hope that's changed.
Yeah, as far as I know, it has.
Yeah.
I talked to him the other day.
There was some talk about a UEC grant.
Yes.
I don't know much about that.
So UEC was given a grant of $5 million CDA. That in conjunction with the $7 million got it to the $12 million, and it will take the building growth. And we did a resolution, I believe it was, that gave credence to that to UEC.
Okay, so we have documented, we do have those, that's funds available.
I don't know if I'd say it that way.
Okay,
We gave this, I believe it was a resolution, if I remember right, telling UEC that they were committed to this and running forward. But the whole deal was, is we can't spend any money over what it's gonna cost.
and so.
Or what the money we have.
Yeah,
So,
okay. So programs or progress is frozen then by the CDA for the time being.
for the time being, yeah, so hopefully we'll get a little more clarification here in the next couple of weeks.
Has someone volunteered to be the fiscal agent?
Not yet, so that was on my list to ask about. I was gonna ask that, well, nobody has, you know, and the way it works out, the CDA needs a fiscal agent in order to have authorities and stuff. And so I was gonna ask it for, all right, if the Port of Morrow is the fiscal agent. So I don't think it's forever, it's just till we get down the road a bit.
And I apologize because I'm probably the one that maybe volunteered that, but I don't know how we can move forward if we don't have a part. The IGA says one of the partners has to be the fiscal agent, no one else is volunteering. We already have those people on our payroll and we had the checkbook for about 3 days and gave it back and it's up on Eileen's desk right now again, waiting for you to make a decision about that.
Are we getting paid any money to help pay these bills, our partners?
Jason, how are we doing on?
I mean, we have any income
I don't,
for the CDA?
I don't think so. I don't think being fiscal agent there's any
I will say,
income to us.
I will say that, the tribes clearly stated that on other grants, they would charge 10% of whatever those grant amounts are to be managing that money. So it's a matter of meeting with all of the CDA partners to see if they're gonna pay their bill. We've got a commitment from the Port of Umatilla. I think we have a commitment from Morrow County, but Dave Sykes is on the phone, you can verify that.
My question has to do with, we're gonna keep incurring more debt by being a fiscal agent for tomorrow, and we fund the CDA.
I don't think that's what's being asked, I think we just be to do the paper, not to continue funding.
Okay, but if we write checks, how do we cover those
So we
checks?
don't write the check if we can't cover it. We're-
Those checks would be out of the CDA's checking account, not the Port of Morrow.
Okay, all
The
So-
payroll would continue to be Port of Morrow until
Okay.
It's a very.
there's another option.
Would it be, is that a very small portion of what we're gonna be expected to do, or how much staff time is this gonna take? I'm generally supportive because somebody's gotta do it,
Right.
but I'm concerned, I think as well as everybody else, that we shouldn't be footing the bills for everybody. And
I believe what we heard was 5 to 8 checks a month,
Yeah,
out of the CDA account.
I,
Checks are written by hand.
I would support the court stepping in for a short time until somebody is prepared to take that over. But I want to be clear that I don't think it should be the Port of Morrow that is carrying the CDA when it comes to finances.
I think we've made that very
We
clear.
made that clear last time, yeah.
Yeah, so those are two different deals, two different, I guess,
Right.
items. But I think it'd be Eileen, a little bit Eileen's time or Jason's time. However, they would,
In the past, it's been Natasha's time, it'd be some of Dory's time. I have rarely spent any time on CDA stuff. And in the past, I believe the reimbursement has been for Natasha's time, and for Dory's time, but never Eileen's. And so that's how that's worked past. I don't know how it would work moving forward, but
With the grant, it was about, what, $7,800 that was budgeted towards taking care of those
Yes,
bills.
yes, and remember, in addition to that, we received the rent from downstairs on the office, so that
yes.
was our other income.
So as of right now, no bills are being paid.
We literally had a meeting Monday. And Emily brought the checkbook up, I think Tuesday morning, so. Or Monday afternoon, so it's sitting there on Eileen's desk waiting for an answer, but yes. Natasha would be doing the accounts payable and Dory would continue to do the payroll.
So with that payroll and those things, are we supplying HR too? Versus,
Yes, because they're on our payroll and they've been on our payroll, so. Brandy would be answering HR questions if those employees have that.
Which in the past, until recently, there was nothing. I did their onboarding and never had anything until recently.
I guess I would like to, ask a question that probably falls under executive session. About the progress of, or the status of certain, lawsuits before I make a decision to continue as fiscal agent.
We do have that on our executive session today, and Sam will be on the call.
And I don't know if this is appropriate to say or not, but we did get money from the final disbursement. of the
Federal.
grant.
So that's great.
so that was like 400 something.
That's great.
Yeah,
So we did get that money.
so then we're all done with that federal grant, in that sense.
So the amount that is owed or we're behind with our partners is substantially reduced because of that, right? Yes, more, not.
Yes. Since,
Yes, that's fine.
are we still out, Lisa? Are we still behind?
I wish Eileen was here because I don't know yet. We are from partners.
Yeah, because not all the partners are paid up, so.
Right.
So that 100,000 did go directly back to us.
It did.
it is.
Oh, it did.
All
Yeah.
100,000.
So that was the 90% of the money asked for, if that makes sense, with the 10% being 2% of her. And we're missing some 2% for quite a while.
Yeah,
Right?
so all of 25 or in Code County and the tribes. All of 24, I think, for.
So where is the money coming from for payroll? If we take over as fiscal agent, the last time that we saw the checkbook at the CDA was $2,000.
From our contribution, so.
What was left over after they had 100,000 or so in there, but that was contracted out to someone else to pay for the igloo.
Right.
Project, and that left about $2,000, so I'm just wondering where, as fiscal agent, where are we getting the money to pay wages?
So Umatilla.
Well, we're supposed to be billing our partners.
Has paid. An invoice or part of an invoice that was sent out. It was, we pay a quarter of an invoice for.
Quarter of it. Right.
Of projected expenses. Am I not saying that right?
I wish I was here, I'm sorry. She'll be back tomorrow at the budget, meeting, but
And I believe Morrow County is paid. Also, but I'm not for sure.
I think Morrow County's paid up previous last payment, and I've only seen one payment for the last quarter, but they tend to come in a couple of weeks. You know, usually 40 until days very fast, and then everybody else is just kind of shuffles in.
So each of us got an invoice for roughly 200 for the next year or from now to operate every year on the budget that was presented last month. So I think Utility County might have paid all of that. I'm not exactly sure.
Port of Umatilla.
Yeah.
I saw a smaller amount, and so I don't know, I just saw the check, I haven't heard it.
But they haven't agreed to that. They were just sent the invoices.
Port of Umatilla has agreed.
Yeah.
I forget that our board agreed. Because this just came out at the last meeting, correct? So we haven't agreed to pay that 250 either yet.
Well, Eileen said we could because of what we have in our budget. It was in our budget to be able to pay that. So we paid a quarter of that, so. 60-some thousand, I believe. Is the way that works out.
It's in our best interest to continue operations of the CBA. I mean, we're going to get 2,000 first property as soon as we'll get an update in executive session on lawsuit. We have to remember what the court's getting out of this at the end of the day.
I agree, it's short experience with it is, at first nothing was happening, some things are moving, some things are changing. There's more to do, but we're getting closer, I think. So we need to keep it going, keep it moving.
Well, maybe we should table the rest of this until after our executive session to have it better.
Sure can. Anything else you know, well, we're gonna get an update on that lawsuit.
We are, and maybe we can get an update on the accounts
Okay.
that we've received, accounts received.
Yeah. That's basically all I have to say for that. Anything else? So, okay. We'll table that item. Next, we'll move on to the Whitby update.
We had a meeting with them this last week. They're very receptive to the design changes that we proposed, so we went through that whole audit process. We went from oxidation ditch to batch reactors. We sent them basically a slide deck that I shared with you guys last week. So all in all, things are going well. And at that same time, we had the meeting with DEQ too, with the clean water group, and they're also very receptive. In fact, they brought up that they could possibly fund the design of the batch reactors. So we could get that agreement going now for the 50 million and then do an amendment to include the construction of battery designs.
So if we were to say today that with you, maybe we want to go, how long?
Oh, it's gonna be,
this for that.
if we change directions, it's going to be a while because we're talking 9 months to a design change. And we have to have a complete design before we look at the full.
Okay. Anything else I want to give? Okay. Thanks, Mark. CWSRF update.
That was the DEQ part of that
Okay.
conversation.
You just met with those guys.
Yeah, both of them together, we're meeting with
bi-weekly together.
The meeting went well. They didn't have any concerns about changing, secondary treatment options, either state or federal.
Yeah,
Uh,
and we're very receptive.
and I'm sorry, Mark, did you mention that they were willing to upfront pay
Yeah,
the million or two? Okay.
for design, yeah.
Who was willing to do that?
DEQ, or DEQ.
Oh, really?
They would just enter into that contract upfront.
100% design was due by what, August 1st?
That was basis,
That was what?
complete basis of design, September.
September.
So do we still have that deadline then? Should we change?
We will have it in.
So I expect a scope of work by the end of next week, and that's one of their first deliverables is the base of design. So they're very well aware of the September 1st date, and so we anticipate to beat that.
So we will fall behind on the process, it sounds like that. It's good. Okay, thank you.
And is this part of the application for money that went to or to be? There was $50 million.
This is the $50 million. So the, Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund is the $50 million funding.
And is that's not a for sure thing yet, or when do we know about that?
It's approved. We were going through the process and we're going to change the design.
We were concerned going.
That's, okay, I understand, okay.
And we've had,
Very receptive to change, and we don't have to reapply. So we don't have to
Yeah.
move to a different funding.
yeah.
That's, we're already in it.
And the DEQ requirement was for secondary treatment, and this is secondary treatment, so.
So qualifies under that application, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, great. Great, great.
All right, guys.
And I guess I should add right now, as you know, we wanted to apply for another $50 million. They told us no several times. We will keep trying.
Only if needed.
Well, it's,
Too bad it's not grand.
no, it's 2% less interest than
Okay.
the other money, so if we can get another $50 million, we'll do it.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay, moving on here, clean water consortium update.
We didn't have a quorum
Oh,
for a meeting yesterday, so we were rescheduling.
Or the 20th. Is that right?
Yes, yes,
May 20th? Okay,
yes.
and that's where Isabel is on, she's on the advisory committee.
She's on the advisory committee,
Okay,
but Tamara was down testifying
yeah,
as well. Kelly was not available.
I didn't get in notice because I got all my emails for 14 emails this morning.
Oh, no.
So
yeah.
we're having issues with internet.
well, Isabel did a great job, she didn't have help from Ryan like I did. She wrote the things down, so it was very personal and to her, and yeah, she did great.
Tamara sent me a message
Okay.
about Isabel.
Anything else then, just wait for another meeting?
Another meeting.
Yeah.
Still moving forward with to the $2.8 million request to the state. I guess with this, we have completed our DEQ payment contract, and the money going to OHA will come back to Morrow County. So not only the second phase of our fine, but whatever portion is still available for the first one.
Did they, on the regular SEP, is it spelled out of what we can spend that on? They can't come out with anything like that yet
For
for the second batch?
the second batch, we're paying our portion of the DEQ and the balance goes to OHA. And OHA has agreed to put that money back into Morrow County for clean drinking water.
but, and they didn't have any sideboards on it. So before the funding, when it came through the SEP, it said you can only do this, and you could only do that, and you could only do this. And then the second one that we supplied, it was supposed to be for more towards the middle ground of connecting water permits, but then when we didn't get any really update or any, you know, specifics of how we can spend that money like we did last time. Last time we were very confined to how that money was spent.
Right, if Ms., do you think, what do you think on that? I mean, I'll go get the agreement, when we take a break and give you a copy.
Sorry, are you
I mean-
thinking about the, I just signed a $903,000 check. So-
That was it.
Yep.
Too late, Sandy.
That's all I have, son.
Oh,
Thank you, John.
Third payment of $903,000 shall be made no later than June 30th, 2025. Fourth payment of $322,000 no later than June 30th, 2026. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, that's the second.
Yeah, and they do have sideboards on color. They have some guidance as to what it's gonna be used for, use of funding. Has treatment and maintenance, potable water provisioning, domestic well water screening, outreach education, health risk, evaluation, planning and coordination, public drinking water project design and implementation. So yeah, it's got direction on where it's supposed to go. So.
Okay,
Which we're going to work on the design and implementation of pipeline.
Okay. Secondary treatment is next.
I guess we're just looking for some discussion and direction. You know, we went through our process last week, everybody's had time to think about it. As far as staff, we strongly recommend that we move towards the batch reactors. Take care of any salt buildup in the lagoons in the future, be huge maintenance issues in the future, odor issues in the future. So we're just looking for basically direction that you guys want us to go down this path.
Any action taken by this to do that, or?
I think action would be great.
I mean, it's definitely different than we had proposed.
Yeah.
Like,
I was impressed with the presentation. I liked what they had to say. Yeah, you know, the discussion was lively, suggestions were made. I really like the fact that it will hopefully take care of our issues and save money. We have to, in my opinion, lessen the impact on all involved as long as we meet our goals. I like the fact that if we need to put another train in, we can add one in the future. I think I heard that right. Okay, should we need to, should things change, we can. But I'm very much in support of the second, the proposal that we have from.
If you have any questions, Jacob's here to.
Yeah, I like it also. I like the fact that you could change that number of nitrates going out. You know, you could, there's some adjustment in there. It'd been nice to see maybe numbers, cost for cement versus the dirt berms.
We,
You know,
We will have this, Joe, going down. I mean, they put that together in about 30 days.
Okay.
So
I thought the concrete was an add-on, it was already.
it is an add-on.
Yeah, it was in there. Yeah, it was already in there.
He was for the bottom.
Yeah, for the bottom.
I think there's 2 or 3 things that were added.
But not the walls, though, right?
Right.
The walls.
Right.
were-
Yeah, that was still dirt, right?
That's still dirt, and that's when it starts getting really expensive. You start doing that.
Constant wall.
Well, I think it goes back to telling our story, as far as reuse and the value of the reuse. Yet accomplishes what we're trying to do in the mitigation of the nitrates, but not totally wipe them out and make the water useless. So, I like that idea. I think it's and it's huge savings. Like you said, huge savings, across the board. So I think it's something we should look at that. Well, I think we should, that would be the direction I would like to see us go.
Yeah. If we could get more of the nitrates out to the farm and allow them to use them as best you can. I'd like to do as much of that as we could. But also, in the next 10 years, you gotta kind of plan for, you know, if something changes or things get turned upside down, it's nice to have that secondary.
Well, and with that, there's a way to potentially address any future concerns of anything else that may be in the water that somebody doesn't want to like or whatever. So we have that option to work with that as well.
So does just changing the train, does everything else, if we needed to add a train to clearing that water down to 7 to the state limit, does everything else already fit in place with that? I mean, size wise, pump wise? Or would all of that stuff have to be
It's
changed?
basically all retention time based, right? So additional trains provide additional retention time, which is a derivative of the needed treatment time to reduce nitrogen. So it would just be another train installation to add to the retention time of our base design.
So how much does it cost to just add that currently, right now? Put that in the plan.
Well, I think under current flows, we could do an analysis right now, it's designed for 13 MGD, so we have a lot of additional retention time in the design as it is today. But I can definitely have evaluation around it, get back to you on that.
Yeah, but to get it to 7 would increase the cost.
It's just too early for the answer to that question. You know, obviously, this is a very preliminary design approach. And the next phase, getting into preliminary base of design, and we'll be able to really flush out what those different treatment parameters mean from a retention time basis and what 13 MGD does to our, you know, capability of adjusting treatment. But I think it's, you know, it's relatively easy to assume for future build out. When we meet 13 MGD, and we want to go above and beyond that, it would be, you know, a 30% cost increase to have fixed train.
Was the 13 MGD, was that including data center water? I think there was some talk about taking that out of the process somehow, so it could go through the plan.
So as of right now, we're making an assumption that's all of our water combined. Right. So as we be able to pull out the organically loaded water and bypass digesters or secondary treatment, it would add additional capacity of the system.
So reduce flow, I guess that would be, I don't know, I can ask another time. I think I understand, but I don't think, sure if it works to it or.
Is that something that's in the plan or goals to do that in short order?
Absolutely. And in fact, we're actively working on projects to accomplish that.
Yeah. And so it's nice to hear that idea, because I don't know if it was in the plan where they had the pre-screen to take the solids out to save back the fumes and cleaning as often. That was nice to hear all those kinds of suggestions too. So I assume that was, I couldn't remember if that was part of the original design or it was added, but it seems like a good idea to me.
Yeah, that's an added element.
I like that they were never stumped by any questions.
So before the meeting, office sat down and they talked about their history in wastewater treatment, kind of at a very high level. And I kind of beat them up on after the meeting. It's like, I wish you would have talked about that a little bit, because their expertise in this field is second to none. They've got several retirees that are coming back to help with this project specifically. Have been in the wastewater treatment world, PhDs, I mean, for 30 years. Very, very knowledgeable background. Good partner.
So what, probably stealing some of Kaylee's, thunder, but it talks right in her current, posting that she gives about their efforts to reduce their, and reuse their water recirculating. So, that's gonna help, obviously. So I think all those things together, we can address all the issues we're facing right now and then some of the future.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so just a couple of things. I applaud the effort. The presentation was great. There's a lot of plus ones that system offers, but Your scope document for the next phase of work is really important for the broader group. And I say this having gone through the development of over $3 billion worth of processing facilities and having gone through the stage gate approach on engineering several times. So your scope document for the next phase is really super important. It's not just an engineering scope document, it should be a business case scope document as well, because one of the glaring things that was missing out of their otherwise stellar presentation was operating costs. And one of the things that I think is really important in that analysis is the sensitivity analysis, the volumes. You know, because it's an operating title, it's not just about the CapEx, it's about the throughput and projection of the volumes and the operating costs, because you know, all of the infrastructure that you have in place is going to be really sensitive to the water volume that goes through it, and there's some downward pressures there. So just making sure that the broader stakeholder group understands all components of the business case behind it as well, not just the design and the engineering, you know, but the OpEx, the funding piece, and that's something that I think would be really helpful to have a third party be involved in helping to verify that. In addition to your internal resources from the Morrow's perspective, so including the business case inside that scope document, I think would be really important for you guys, so broader stakeholder group. Thank you.
Okay, good, thank you.
Kelly, any comments from the presentation?
No, I thought it was good overall, but yeah, Craig has a really good point. I mean, both in a small data plant, I mean, operating, maintenance costs, assuring reliability, that has to be taken into account as well. That's gonna be $1 million range, sure. So, and the only other question I had on that was, has this been presented to DEQ? Because through calls, they wanted to be presented a plan. They said they didn't have a set plan, right? So
They were actually on the call last week.
Mike
Justin, and also the ones from the Clean Water Consortium, or not consortium, but the
Revolving Fund.
Fund were on that call too. So everybody knows the process we're heading down. I mean, we're only into this 30 days. We didn't have time to put on the cost together. You know, that's going to be on the next round. So I think we made a lot of headway in 30 days. So I think we got a process. We still need to flesh it out though. So
I think there was a little bit of confusion too. If we're creating that dry matter that has to be spread somewhere, is that a new permit? Is that the same permit? How is that process?
Yeah, we tried to under the same.
Existing.
If
As long as it's going on with our.
if it goes on other ground,
it would be an unneeded permit then.
yeah.
And it would probably be exempt.
Yeah.
That is what they said.
What is the 17th?
I think they would know more.
Craig, I was gonna say, Craig, do you believe that? It would.
So that is the $64 question. So with an ag exemption, so if it's solid waste, that is, if it's an organic solid waste, then you can get a, call it ag exempt, and then it's not permitted. So I fail intuitively to see how if it's in the water, it's under a permit, how when it's taken out of the water, it's exempt. So just intuitively, that doesn't make sense to me. What they articulated to us was that it is, that it would go under ODA and it's potentially exempt. We could apply for the exemption. Initially, it's not, but we could apply for the exemption. So again, not to spew conjecture, but certainly if there's anything that we've learned over the last 2 years, they're leaning more towards additional regulation, not less regulation. So I think as you work through the process, one would make a placeholder for assuming that there is going to be another, another permit. And that's very important. Those solids are a very important concept. Madison Range has spread a lot of solids over the last 30 or 40 years. And it's not a material cost to be able to to transport those and apply those. So again, it goes back to my prior comments on operating costs, and understand that it's a very short window. No slide on the process. They did a quick turnaround on a big project, but one of the things that we've seen, like for the last year in the analysis, is the operating costs. They've kind of gotten a lot lost in translation a little bit. So just maintaining there's a few pieces to every business case, and one's the CapEx, and the other's the OpEx. So, and then the last thing with regard to that, for both the solids application and the liquid application is, please make sure you have a thorough understanding of the economic rates. For every pound, we're already limited on the economics of the crops that we grow into the DEQ permit. And every pound that's taken out adds cost to the system. And again, the fear is that we spend so much time taking the nutrients out, only to apply them in a different method, and every time we add that step, adds costs. And I think we proved with some of the numbers that we're reaching the upper limit of the ability to be competitive in the marketplace. So just make sure you factor that into the analysis of how those OpEx, alter the landscape of your competitive nature.
The one thing that we know is though, is we know we have to do something.
Absolutely right.
We cannot not do anything. Not be able to have more processors, we will not be able to have growth or anything. So the one thing we know is we have to do something, and we will do something. We're trying to find the best option. I'm sure their operating expenses will be out there for sure. I mean, I just
wanted to add that OpEx is a deliverable of Aqua's preliminary study that they're delivering by end of next week.
Oh, great.
And some of those major components of OpEx is the solids handling component. And this early in the stage, I mean, this is obviously can get tweaked as the design progresses, but at preliminary stage, we've given direction to assume worst case scenario for op cost. So that'll be assumed to be landfill in the preliminary op cost budget. So, I mean, as things evolve and you get an exemption, or you don't get an exemption, I mean, that will obviously change, but they should have that for the deliverable next week.
One other question. Did I hear that DEQ is doing test plots for testing agronomic rates with crops or not?
Jake, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, we have several trials in place right now for on the porch permit ground. We have some in place for canola or winter wheat, and we're working on finalizing my grain corn one. It'll be a repeat of the same grain corn one we did last year.
Okay.
And then they've also granted permits to Mount Weston trial status on ryegrass seed and canola also, and then also grain corn as well. So we should be able to provide very significant amount of data back to DEQ this next season on agronomic rates on canola, hardwood, wheat, and corn and ryegrass.
Hopefully with the goal of increasing the allowed agronomic rates, correct?
Yes, that's the one. Yep.
On reduced ground.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
So, going back to Kelly's statement, DQ was maybe wanting, they were on line there watching, but maybe they wanted a hard copy variance or.
They got. You got one too, right? Okay.
I think it's a nice system. It does everything we're asking, and the ability to just denitrification. I guess not an expert in the process, right? So we're definitely helps.
Yeah.
Do you need a motion in this direction or just consensus? What do you think?
I think a motion would be great if you're ready to make it. Our goal is to get you information as quickly as we have it. If that means a meeting in between our regular commission meetings and have another workshop, we're happy to do that. Just to keep everyone informed. But we believe this is the way to go. We obviously don't have all the information on the operational costs, which will impact the rates for industry.
Pleasure of the board. Want I guess just a consensus or a motion or two?
It's a significant investment on our part, so it probably would be better off for you by motion.
I'd kind of like to, maybe you said next week, that you'll have that operating expenses and maybe they're a little farther down the line. I mean, 30 days out on that design for prices, was that, how off are they? How much did they give you? Was it 20% maybe that they're 30? So maybe a little farther. I mean, I don't mind giving the consent to say, let's go look at it some more, that maybe when we have a little better numbers or a little more detail, and right now we're kind of, you know, they're questioning operating costs, is it, you know, we don't know what those are and shooting in the dark.
I think what we can say is the other path we were going down, it is not going to be affordable to industry. I mean, they're clearly telling us that this is at probably $100 million less to go down this path, and we'll be adding back the operational costs.
Is it fair to say the consensus of the group is to continue down this path?
I think so too. And I think we, even if we're motion, I think we could work it. Get it stopped there.
If we find we can't afford this, we can, I mean, we can vote a different direction, or a different direction, but we can't keep kicking the can. I think at some point, staff needs a
We can
direction.
actually make a decision because we have to give that basis of design to DEQ by September first.
Right.
So
Well, then I guess I'll make the motion then that we support the latest design presented to us at the last work group, and I don't remember the terminology for describing that. Batch.
That's the
Batch reactors. So I guess that we would support the development or the use of that technology for water treatment at the port. I don't want to put dollar amounts in there, so I don't know. But
we don't know what it is yet.
right, exactly. And so pending or notwithstanding terrible news on something, on affordability, I'm not sure when. I would like to make the motion that we do support going in this direction.
I'll second that.
Okay, John has moved and Ray was seconded to support our batch reactor process. Any other discussion?
Do you have? One of the things I've seen.
No,
No.
sorry.
No,
We got a motion on the floor, so, is there any discussion on that before? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimous. Sorry, Craig, but,
No, I understand that, but you, the deliverable that you can put in that is the scope document. You just made kind of a vague, and the scope document is really super important deliverable, and so that may be helpful for the commission to be able to approve the scope document, which supports that effort, but gives clear deliverables. Was Kansas suggestion.
But correct me if I'm wrong, that's coming forward, is it not?
It is.
We will have a basically budget for the engineering firm and a scope of work document by the end of next week.
Thank you.
okay. Any other discussion on secondary treatment? Okay, moving on to item F, Farm 6 management agreement.
I can tell you we got a draft last night, and we're going to be talking about it in executive session. Not shared it with our partner. But we will after we've had some discussion with you in executive session.
So we need to table that as well.
Oh, for further action, executive session.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so we'll table that after. Executive session, okay. Anything else on that might need to be discussed now?
No.
Okay. Policy update. Resolution 2025-03.
So this is just a update to our public contracting policy. We've always had one, we just recently updated it where we added in the surplus property. I'm trying to remember now, 10,000. We wanted to be notified if it was over a certain amount. We just updated it, but we thought in there, it also says that we will have it checked periodically to make sure we're following the limits. So we had our lawyers install we go through it and made it literally, so it's what, several pages now, but it is actually a clear document, so. The limits are in the back, that little table is great. So it's just kind of an update of our existing one, we still have the language where we would notify you if it was over a certain amount. Also included the loss of compress over $100,000, that was why that is on your desk So that you're sure we're on past that, whatever. We did that for a while, we were good at it for a while, we kind of lost track of it, so we will continue and we'll look better at that.
Speaking of three questions, so I
On that, on this one, yeah.
So is, okay,
So this is just basically, it's just, we've had Soul Reeves,
okay,
their, public contracting lawyer, you know, they have specialists and everything. They looked over our current one and updated it for us.
So it basically is following the state of Oregon's laws.
Absolutely.
It reflects that with our local board approved or commission approved requests,
Absolutely.
right? Okay, all right, so.
Absolutely.
I
Like I
would-
said, we just recently looked at it where you added in, if the surplus property was over a certain amount, you wanted to be notified, we kept that.
I would move approval then of supplemental public contracting rules as modified by, is that right? As
Correct.
modified by resolution 2025-03. I'll read the title too, just for a resolution of the Board of Morrow Board of Commissioners adopting supplemental public contracting rules and prescribing the rules of procedure for public contract.
I'll second that.
okay. John has motion and Joel has seconded. Any other discussion on this resolution? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. So questions on this sheet then? Is that what you said, John?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is part of that, but I'm okay.
You can definitely ask questions on the
It
sheet.
is so
Don't mind at all.
it's in there, we say that we will notify the commission if it's over a certain dollar amount. I can't, I
Okay.
remember. It's a different format than what we had before, we just gave you Excel spreadsheets, but this is something that, and it's kind of a recreation, this is something that Mark and Carmen already keep with all of our contracts, so it's just something she can print off.
It's handy, it's a nice reminder of things that are working on, you guys are working on too. The Columbia River Filtration Project for $61 million.
That is our two freshwater treatment. The one going to the airport
Okay,
and the one that's going to East Beach.
gotcha.
They're funded by AWS.
Thank you. So a lot
There's some other things there too.
Yes, there are.
And our intent will be to have those for printed for you at the commission meeting.
Thank you, yes, it's helpful.
Okay, you good? Good on that? Okay. Let's move on to policy discussion of public records request thoughts.
So that policy is in the current one,
That's under old business.
correct. We are not asking to change it. We are asking to start following it.
I thought we didn't have one, but we did have one.
We do,
Or we
yes,
do have one.
we've had one for many, many, many years. We just have never charged anybody.
Or I think just say more time, sometime. we
Okay,
did
okay.
charge. But other than that, I just wanted to draw to your attention, since October 25th of 24. We have spent $91,000 managing public records requests.
Question on that, since you bring it up. It doesn't, does our policy mention using, it mentions using staff time, but we use lawyer time? Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that addressed in the policy?
That would be excluded in the staff time because they work for. So you can charge for your legal.
Yeah.
fees as well.
It is not broken out separately though.
It's not.
It's, no,
And it's been a huge amount of money for these requests and a lot of staff time, including our attorneys. So
Yes.
we need, I mean, I think if it's a 5-minute request, they go in, they pull the form, make a copy. It's one thing, but it's another when we have to start spending hours and hours and hours going through emails and all this stuff. I think at some point, we need to start charging for those costs.
It is 11,000 to 20,000 pounds.
That we are spending to do these.
Yes.
but that's not including our.
That's not including our time. That is our attorney time.
And it's because of the volume of the request
Yes.
that you're having the attorney.
The scope of the request.
Okay, so yeah, there's.
Will this fee schedule fit, work with that or help with that? How's too legal for?
From the fees, I'm assuming, I think you're a little low.
Yeah.
That was what the discussion was. I mean, if we need to change them, I mean, definitely we can
We're happy to,
add in a fee for lawyers, I mean, that be, and
or change the current ones. We
Yes.
can do a survey.
Well, I was gonna say, we reached out to other courts and other entities, to find out what their current fees, structures look like for, I mean, these are pretty low.
Right, we reaffirmed these, what, in 2019, I think?
but yes, it is.
Yeah, 2019.
Yes, maybe my question was insufficiently worded, constructed last time. We use lawyers for pulling the public documents, all public document requests.
What we do is we use lawyers, they get, they're on the email chain with our public records form online, so they get it when we do. They make sure that the immediate response is done timely. You have to make a response within 5 days. Then they will go directly to our IT department, so this isn't the old days where Mark and Viv and Jacob and I would sit in, a conference room going through stacks of documents that someone had to find and print to decide if it met the requirements or not. The attorneys are giving our IT department key word searches, and they're able to go through all of the documents electronically, get them back to the attorney, and the attorney responds directly to.
Well, plus
The
they have to
requester.
determine, is it something that can be publicly released?
Correct.
Is there any attorney-client confidentiality? There's a ton.
And there's been a lot of back and forth with Justin Nelson involved with some of these requests as well.
I just need the book.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
could I provide some background on this?
Yes, please.
So all of those requests have been handled by the port and me for 40 years, as long as I've been here, reasonably successfully. We have been inundated with requests whenever you're involved in the kind of issues that the port is involved in. The numbers skyrocket, and the numbers have especially skyrocketed from one reporter who was making multiple requests every day. And in the tone of those requests is such that the port staff and I had a meeting and decided that this really needs to be handled by somebody who's has expertise and is independent of us. And so we shipped it to the Stoll firm, and that's where that's come in. They had a paralegal who was very, very good at handling these things, and the tone of some of those responses was frankly very offensive. And it's just good to have that insulation from it. And the paralegal who was handling them was charging $380 an hour for her work, and then the senior partners also. The result was really good. It took a great deal of heat off our staff, and frankly, I said, I don't want to do this anymore because it was just ugly. And I am really hoping that those are significantly reduced now. The reporter or the newspaper that was most actively involved, I understand, is going out of business. And I firmly, and also the Stoll firm is providing us information where the staff can start handling them better internally. I think this was a blimp based upon the very difficult situation we're in. And boy, I hope we've now got something in place that will greatly reduce those costs.
So when they come in, they don't go to you or somebody else, they go directly to council?
No, they go to Randy, Mick, Mark, me, Rob, Schultz, Eileen.
So something simple then, is that handled by staff, our staff?
If the document's easy for us to just pass on, we'll pass it right on to the attorney to send. But the communications are through the attorney.
And then the other thing that I don't see on here is they're also, in the ORS, they're able to petition. For if it's the public good, and that will come from media, right? They always say that this is for the public good. So we need to take that into consideration. I don't see it on here.
And we spent $91,000 in 4 months.
I'm just saying that we can put those out there, but they're still going to petition, and especially the media will petition and say, this is for the public good. So we don't have anything in our resolution about that, how we handle that.
Well, to this point, I mean, to this date, we have not charged it off, so I think that has been for the public good, but it's become overwhelming, I think. Maybe Sam's right, let's hope that this goes down now.
But if we do start enforcing things, and that person claims the
Yeah.
public good, how do we?
That's what I'm saying.
We're just gonna.
Who's gonna make that decision?
Well, we just put in our resolution that the first 30 minutes of staff time is not charged. So I think that, in my opinion, is if it's over that, if it takes more than that, I feel like that's asking quite a bit to write off what we have been.
But I think they'll still ask.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
still ask, I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, how do we handle, that's where you refer to the legal concern of that term. And they can argue that with the courts if they need to be, but, back to this, there's a lot of requests, I mean, you go in and ask 20,000 emails, somebody's gotta go through those 20,000 emails to determine if they should or could be released. A lot of the times that's where the attorneys will say, you know, you need to narrow the scope of your request, and that's where the district attorney gets involved, says, listen, you gotta get more specific, you can't just have a 20,000 email request, so. I think we should have some kind of rate structure. We're not the only public entity that faces this on a regular basis. I recommend that we look at other rate structure fees, and consider that in the future.
I would agree.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
let me give you another example. When the class action lawsuit was filed against the port, the attorney in Montana requested emails, thousands, what resulted in thousands of emails. And the Portland attorneys responded by saying, this is what we estimate it would take to generate those emails. We are going to generate a fee schedule for these, and what we suspected happened. They dropped the request for public documents and they issued a subpoena in the litigation. So just one example where if they're really overly burdensome, you can estimate costs and charge. The other side of it is this: I think that Lisa and others and I made the decision when a newspaper just doesn't request very much very often and requests something that is probably really in the interest of the public, do we want to continue to give Lisa the chance to say, hey, look, we're going to provide that to him? The consequences of not providing them, and we'll include probably comments in the newspaper that we're charging them for them. So we have been implementing them with real flexibility until the barrage that we got in the last year. And we sure would like to maintain that ability if somebody contacts us with a reasonable request. Let's not hit them in a way that would be adverse publicly to the port.
Well, then maybe we can hear back and continue this discussion next month, when we have a comparison of other rates.
We'll do that.
Okay. Okay, any other old business? Didn't have listed, we need to
Oh,
Yeah, John.
I did have one more thing, the $2.5 million pass-through to the city of Bayonne and city of Hefner. The ladies that you met earlier today, John, they're the ones that were processing that from, the Department of Justice. And we've got the contracts, I sent them on to Liz Peterson and John Doherty, to review, and we will all be partners to that agreement, so. It will be signed soon did you approve it last night?
I could get it sent, I sent it to the wrong email, she's got 2 emails,
Okay,
she's got it this morning,
okay.
so it'll get actually. I just can put it on the deal.
These are business sorry, grants.
This is sorry.
Yes,
And it's just a pass through?
it's just a pass through,
It's a left or
a pass through to each of the cities.
each of the cities?
Ione is $1 million for sewer improvements. And, Hefner is $1.5 million for street sidewalk improvements, I believe.
Is this the one that you said they needed to have their name on it or city's name
Yes.
on it? Take care. Okay.
Well, the state started asking us if we were going to own the property. And we're not going to own the property, we don't want to own the property, so, cause then they'll make us fix it, right?
Darn right.
So now, we just said, I mean, the solution was to make them a partner to the agreement. We would have, based on the last experience we had with this, we would have turned around and entered into an agreement between the port and the cities. But this is just easier. It took a little while to get through DOJ, but it's done.
Why we're involved again?
Why? That's what we do.
Because
We were part of the grant application process.
No,
Where the,
it was,
I've forgotten why we're in thanks to this, I guess, I'm sorry.
it was an allocation from the state,
Okay.
Yeah,
and this is what we do.
and we helped put the application together.
Okay, thank you.
We did all the legwork for it, so somehow we just got stuck all. What we did.
Perfect. Well,
Very similar to the one that we did with Stepping Stones and Eastern Oregon University.
thank you. It wasn't criticism, trust me, it's not. It's appreciated.
Okay, anything else on other? Well, good,
No, that's all I have.
okay. Moving on to new business, we have AWS update, Haley.
Yes, thank you so
Go
much
right
for
ahead.
the opportunity to be here. I'm gonna keep it fairly short and sweet today. I know I usually come in with a lot of different updates, but today just wanted to share our latest Morrow County Economic Impact Fact Sheet. This just gives you a snapshot of economic impact since starting to build here back in 2011. So a few quick highlights, roughly $23 billion invested between capital and operating expenses. Just last year alone in 2024, for $33 billion between property tax and fee payments, and over 3,400 full-time jobs supported here in Morrow County. So we're really proud of that. One of the things that I just wanted to highlight, I've had an opportunity to attend a number of events across the county over the last couple of months, and so the new event center is fantastic, and so congratulations on that. Had a chance to attend the Hefner Town Country Banquet. Their new chamber office and space is incredible, and so some really exciting things happening across the county. We also, I am gonna give a shout out to Lori, since her involvement with the BMCC Foundation. One, she's been really good about saying, here's some additional opportunities for AWS to help out youth in the region, those continuing their education, and so would really like to bring back, some of the folks that have gone through the BMCC program. We can pay for their continuing education through the career upskilling program. There's an employee highlight in here, but it's really exciting to see them not just be able to get their foot in the door, have their continuing education be paid for, and then qualify for those promotion opportunities. So the BMCC Foundation had the gala earlier this year. Just had the opportunity to attend a luncheon. I believe it was last week. We're still doing $100,000 in scholarships for students, not just for the data center technician program, but for any fields that support data center development, and so that's been really exciting for us. And then outside of that, I would just say, Tori and Kim and our partners across the region, I know are working on just some marketing and opportunities to share some of the benefits that their programs have been able to do locally in the communities. And so just really appreciate that effort. I know we're really proud of our contributions to that discretionary fund that hopefully is making a positive impact here locally. So with that, happy to answer any questions. And unfortunately, you probably will see us back here with additional information. We do have a few things that have been approved internally for funding, but have not gone out yet. So I'll have to come back and share that later on. So.
We won't mind.
Well, it's really appreciated that we get this information because many years ago, we didn't get nothing. And so for the public to know these kind of contributions are going on is huge. So thank you.
Trying to make sure that these are ready as soon as possible every year. I know sometimes there's been delays, so really excited to have this as quickly as possible and available. Sure.
I think they're understanding small communities much more than they did 15 years ago. Can you talk about the event that you had, or maybe Tori knows more about it than Kaylee does, the global event that happened at the event center?
So it was a global group and it was pretty interesting to see. They brought in a company called ICS, which is used to be Delta AV, and ICS was a larger company that came and built out Delta, and they provided the media services and the videography services. So we now have a contract for that. But it was like the first time our facilities have been set up into like screens and big time conference events. Like they brought in cameras and lighting and uplighting and sound, and it was a global upload event. One drawback to the day was that when we decided they wanted to cut some fiber for about 10 minutes and we lost complete all internet backup, but they had a backup plan, so they was up and running within about 10 minutes. But it was an interesting event. We weren't privy to the event inside this fact, and we actually had to sign a lot of fake documents to allow that event to happen for us to be around the event. So it was pretty closed door stuff inside. But the setup was amazing.
We just happened to have an employee meeting in the next room at the same time the entire day, so we got to peek in a little bit, and we definitely went in and talked to the AV company afterwards.
They did give us some really good insight on how to improve our facility. Our facility was not ready for the volume of power needed. And so thank God that we have electricians on staff that can come in and keep hot wired some leads out and gave some access to them for their next step. But we have a plan forward to fix that because that's going to be a continued need as we're seeing these larger events coming in first. It's pretty cool.
It's great.
But that was the purpose of the event center, so.
It was, yes. And the company that came, these guys flew in from all over the US to come and put the team together. And they said it was probably one of the most unique and unique setting ever, but the facility itself and the sound quality and the setup of it made it very easy for them to bring their equipment in. So, I mean, they brought a truck with a forklift, and it was actually, it was 2 days of setup. 4 hours to tear down.
And so one thing that I will say, just to your point, is I was at a softball game last night in the evening, and I just happened to be 2 individuals from Boardman, one that was associated with Boardman Senior Center, one that was associated with food pantry, which I know is near and dear to Eric's heart. And it was just fun to see them, hear them say, oh, the solar panels are installed and ready for summer. And so just that organic feedback from people in the community about hopefully saving them some money, so that money can go more towards better uses. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On here, it talks about the technician program through BMCC. Might be a BMCC question, but does that still continue on, and does it happen elsewhere? Does BMCC do it in Baker or any other?
No, the program, as long as it's still the same as it has been, is offered here through the Workforce Training Center, and then they also have some classes in Hermiston as well, but it's just between Hermiston and Boardman. Yeah, and it's been very successful.
Okay. Great, thank you very much. Okay. Any other new business?
I will make one comment, watch for some short videos from the school district that will be focusing on people that have received money on the college tuition while they're in high school, whether they received their AAOT or not. ESDs, actually Carmen's daughter Cynthia Velasco's went out doing video. And talking to people that are out in the workforce now from that program, was talking about the benefit. That program is funded through PRES dollars to Education Foundation to pay for some of those.
To the school district to pay for the dual credit.
So that's a really good thing, and it's not happening everywhere.
No, it's not. So that dual credit program is interesting. Last year, 6 out of the 8 people that graduated from BMCC high school kids were from Morrow County because our dual credits are covered through the Morrow Ed Foundation. So the foundation is seeing, the BMCC Foundation is seeing value in that. So we are actually putting dollars into our budget and creating a budget line item, and we're going out to all the schools in our district to offer this service to pay for those dual credits for all the schools in our area. So Pendleton is gonna be our pilot project for the dual credit that BMCC is gonna start, foundation is gonna start covering those costs, so we can break that barrier for kids in other school districts in the BMCC footprint.
How long has this program been going on?
The dual credits,
Yeah, I've been some years.
Actually, it was going when I started at the port back in 2012.
It barely, because I had in 2010 and 2012. And 2018 was when we had like the super class. My daughter was in that class, but she wasn't part of the super part. She was only half super.
My son Kevin, that's why I thought it was part of that program, so. I know you said so.
it is a huge value. We had a student come from Hermiston that came to Riverside, had to pay for his BMC classes because he's getting his welding certification. Transferred to Riverside, and all of a sudden he wanted to continue that, and then he came home and he's happened to be friends with my son, and he's like, do you know that they cover and not pay for this anymore? I was like, yes, we know that. It's really cool, isn't it? He's like, yeah, they told everybody. It's
Doing the all communities started to do the same thing.
Same.
Even the Lord.
It's an impact, it makes a huge impact.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids, I mean, if you're going through scholarships right now, a lot of those kids don't have the financial means to even get to college. So to get those covered in this, that AE is a huge deal.
Okay, anything else, any other new business meeting? Okay, move on to staff reports, project updates.
Let's start with Farm 6. I don't think we've given an update on Farm 6. I know we're in the process of working with bugs out of our existing IWW system out there, so. Yeah, Jacob, that is,
What system is that?
the IWW system, so the air system on farm sites, the existing one. So,
Everything's hooked up to be able to run it. We're gonna start testing different sections here in the future when we have time. Bruce Dale from Madison Farms and stuff. Yeah, I need Monday, kind of want to know a little bit of stuff, but this summer, we're not, it's not like we need to use the farm, because we have plenty of other land to apply on in summer, so we're gonna use the field. There's some troubleshooting and find some issues. It's basically all manual now, so there'll be some automation stuff we want to get figured out for next year, because we're gonna need real big time next spring when possible, we need to get the ponds and keep it straight out there. We got a plan with them, and we'll work through the bugs this summer and be ready to go.
any questions on that, guys? So, Farm 3, 4 lagoons.
So a lot of black lining's going in, I think the bond's probably 30 to 40% government liner at Farm 3. So really, there's a bunch of those items. They're finishing some electrical installation, valving, the barge, the floating pump station that'll be installed. It's gonna show up the second week of June. And they'll install it, they're finished lining the rest of the farm. It's going well, on schedule. And farm four is kicked off and they've moved much dirt.
Yeah.
So I think once they get up and running, and I believe Kurt told me towards the end of this week, they're gonna be full steam ahead on moving, they'll be moving about 30,000 yards a day.
Where are they moving it to?
Out there right now, they're moving it to the dam.
Farm three is gonna be the stabilization when the wind blows like this. It's a bunch of dirt up in the air, so you might hear some stuff from the community. I know we've got some calls from here, the dust and the contractors out there trying to take care of it. We're trying to come up with a long-term way, but it's sort of the challenge.
Detail usually the best.
Yeah, we more than likely will have to talk. It'll be an expensive fix. That hydroseed is not.
No, keeping up water on it.
Yeah, it's just too big of a bank.
This is also the windiest time of the year, right?
It is, but I don't know if we'll have anything growing on it next year, the way soil is.
It'll be comfortably fine.
That's how it goes.
I tried to talk our landscape architect into planting, puncture vine and Russian thistle. He didn't take the neighbor farms, so be very happy with that.
Oh, that's fine, actually, pretty good.
Learn some starfish for color.
Nobody beat my one today.
Airport infrastructure, the Quincy pipeline is actually out to, it's been advertised. We have a mandatory walkthrough on that project on May 27th. Been opening would be around June 12th, if we don't have. Distribution facility in Tang.
So they're, buttoning it up, so the structural steel started going up a few weeks ago, and, most of the manifold and equipment. Are somewhat in place, our electrician mobilized, this week.
Yeah.
Start setting gear in the building that Happy's building for them.
And where's that gonna be at?
This is there.
Yeah, you've been out there, did you?
I'd be ready for a tour sometimes, the projects sometime in the future.
The plan is to spend the well through at the airport at our first June. So, got a lot of stuff to get done with this couple of weeks. We're ready to do it.
It's true, June's only 2 weeks away.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. The pipeline to PDX 202 is almost complete too. I think we're just on punch list on that.
It's only punch list, we've got some remaining spoils files we gotta clean up, they're doing a few things, they'll be back like the second, third week of June to commission the pipeline. So the contractor is working on demobilization, part of their equipment now. So, they're all down there.
So we should be pressured up by mid-July there. It's a good project, it's gone actually pretty well, really well.
You wouldn't believe it, we ran into a bunch of assault rock. So down, down. But they got through it, we got through it, so.
Well, we know where to put it, just on the side of that farm.
Yeah, just haul it there, it's really, it's a little big too. Gar Swanson extension.
Paving was complete, 2 weeks ago. So again, just down to punch list items, a couple electrical components, they're working on. And we've got striping going on, 28th of this month, so. We'll be trying to full the extension from Kennedy Road to the UK substation at the Gar Swanson Road. Right, first here.
And I don't think that we even talked to you guys about the Route Kennedy extension going to the new BPA substation. It was something they came to us, wanted us to do, and they were reimbursing us.
That we talked about last month.
I think you did.
So you recorded it there.
No, at the UPPA.
Yeah.
I think you did say something about it.
Okay.
So the North Swanson Road, you talked like it was gonna be kind of an asset at one time, but. I mean, when I was out there, it's nice and big.
Yeah, it's definitely to our road standard. It's a publicly accessible, it's dedicated right away, the whole way. So yeah,
That's all good stuff, striking all stuff. Okay. Hefner flood mitigation. We had a walkthrough yesterday. There was about 10 bidders at that walkthrough. So we should get some really good bids. Jeff said there wasn't a whole lot of questions. I budgeted. So we got our spoil area figured out. Good smooth, hopefully the bids come in. Thank you. Okay.
Said it was really one of the better, I assume he's a bidder, said it was very well laid out, pretty straightforward, so that's.
Yeah. We did have Anderson Perry help us with that, so maybe that's why. No, they've done a good job in helping us on the project. Freshwater treatment facilities, we, as you see from the question we had right there, we did award that project to IMCO. And then they actually start, what is it? May 15th, are they out there tomorrow? Jason?
So they're gonna move in some
Monday.
construction trailers to start with, so there's not gonna be a lot of movement, just some temporary electrical connections. Construction trailers coming in and then down the road, a month up and perhaps we start seeing some activity. Wow.
Okay. And I think Ken's got a bunch of other stuff to do.
Well, got some pictures to look at, so Terry wants to. Maybe those, walk our way through there.
While she's bringing that up, I'll tell you that we're going to go back to having a department present in person every month. We kind of stopped that for a while, just have written reports, but we want you to be able to see people face to face and hear from them what their department's doing.
So Tim's the first one I did.
Tim's-
Yeah, you have to get it over with.
That's the airport, the 2 million gallon tank, Bethany's been doing the construction on that, so we're doing the electrical for the building tank. Everything out there, but.
And that's inside there.
All of those pictures that we just May 1st, so. Most everything's up now, the roof's on it, so it's quite a bit farther along now. And we're done.
The entry sign, you see the concrete wall right there, that's the entry sign, there's one in each location.
So there's
There's north and south, but exactly the same. So,
Water Pond 3, there's a lot more liner down now, so that was all there, on construction on that. Our crews will be running the 24-inch HDPE line out to the pumps coming from the front of the 41 building, we're looking to start that this summer. As the material shows up, it's got bid. And Jake, do you think that's half done now, or?
So the line is around to the access road, and they jumped over and started going the other direction, so I might be a little light saying 30%, but it's pretty close.
Okay.
And those are actual size pickups down the bottom.
Yeah, so they look pretty small.
Yeah.
Those are not.
I haven't been on top of the dike yet,
Man.
we need to do a tour out there with the bus, and see if we can turn it around.
I would not recommend driving the bus on it.
That is Booster 8 on Farm 5, so that's right kind of on the property line, Patterson Farms and Vader Rust. So that was for the additional, 7 circles we put out there, plus to get more fresh water down on the Vader Rust. We just finished up commissioning the freshwater pumps this week, and so we're pretty well buttoned up out there, got a little specialist items to clean up out there, a little more work to do on the roads out there, there's more ground down, but that was done all by our crews, as far as building construction, building the manifolds. There's a really big manifold inside that building. Can't see, I guess you can see it in that picture, but
That's all done by our crews. Okay, so.
This is farm five, or farm four,
Oh, okay.
I have the numbers.
I have got numbers since I started. So Dale here started on doing the grubbing and stuff on the area that the new pond out there is gonna be.
Yeah, take a drive out there. So farm five, pond is, no, farm.
That's farm
three
four.
or-
Four.
That's farm four, what's in the distance?
That's our existing
Existing.
pump system.
Oh, okay.
There are 351 gallons.
Oh.
So just double a little bit more. So this is, the new well 6. So we're just finishing up the electrical on it. There again, our crews did all the building, cement work, manifold, and all the pipe installation over to East Beach. So this will be good, feed over to East Beach to help feed the million gallon tank that's over there. And we're getting ready to start a new, electrical room at East Beach as well. Our crews will be doing all the work on that. Isn't that pretty? You're very responsive. Yeah.
Years. It's not your, oh. Yeah.
Any questions? So, you've been real busy and one of the kind of things are kind of winding down, so you're gonna see us a little bit more around the board the next few weeks. We're doing a lot of cleanup and mowing and the stuff that's not in crop. There's little rock piles and stranded pipe and different stuff. And we're also going around all the utilities and we have a big pile of some ground rock, so it doesn't cost a lot, and give it a 5 to 10 foot barrier around all the utilities, so we go mow with a big field mower, we don't have to worry about all the stuff we don't want to know. Give it ourselves more, but hopefully things will look better, and if we get Amazon to sign off on the additional landscape. Because we're hoping to have, you know,
And that's still my course. On one old avenue.
Oh, now.
We have given the landscape crew a little bit of relief. We've notified Murfield that we will no longer be maintaining their lawn, which we've been doing way beyond the time that we probably should have. So that will free up a good amount of time for Brian's crew. In addition, Baron Road, we've got another month there, I think, until Baron Road vacates the west side of their building, so Boardman Foods will do a little bit of remodel in there. Boardman Foods will expand into the entire site and they will take over the line once at that point. So 2 large properties that they can.
Got a 2 million gallon tank, the older one, we just did landscaping there, just in that hydro needed. And across the street is what's that Columbia machine, what we call it, such shape.
See, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we're doing their landscape, then we'll be charging them a fee for trying to take care of it. We're doing something else.
How about the Navy's trailer there by your shop? Is that ever gonna move?
Where do you want it, I'll take it to an house.
I don't know.
First after Greg clearing power line.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna scrap it, there's nothing they could use for it. There was an old boiler, I guess, that Gary had plans of maybe hooking it up to the mid steel, but they ended up hooking up to. I don't know what happened before, the single line was down industrial, or
We bought it for emergency purposes, and it was an us team for this team out there, only produces from our.
it was a great, but it's pretty well.
I just assumed it was the Navy's and they needed a place to park it.
No,
No, it's ours. You probably should scrap it. You probably should.
So it makes more sense.
Yeah,
It does.
Good part.
Yeah, all you had to say Gary by.
Excellent.
Okay, anything else on project maintenance? Good there?
Good.
Good, financial update.
All right, so looking at the cash schedule, we have our debt payments, I think this month. And so we've, put some money aside. It'll be $4.9 million. When it comes to the different segments in the budget, there will be, I don't know if they're called a budget transfer or a budget appropriation, I can't remember, but, while we are fine legally, because all of the expenses by program are fine, we would prefer that we have just spent a little bit more money on materials and services than we originally intended. Through, additional testing, additional legal services, along some other stuff that, we will be moving or transferring money from one of the other, segments, or most likely the capital, and as well as the debt service. We have a little debt service because we ended up doing the short-term financing faster than we originally thought when we were putting the budget together. So I'm assuming we will be talking about more of these items.
So, thanks. Questions, Jason? Okay, usage reports, those are in your packet there, and questions on any of those?
Grant first for Lemon Weston are increasing from 8 a week to 20. What? It's on the warehousing. So I want to grant first are increasing from 8 to 20 a week. That's a good increase. What you're at it for?
That brings up, so is Marcel?
No, she's not, and.
Right, so it's just a way that they ship out the product. And so there's a specific, we've had as many as 25 to 30 rail cars a week. It's just a system to move out products to the Midwest or wherever they're sending it on there.
We've done 11 for, and it's coming out of the warehouse.
Right, so it helps with the flow, right?
And this is about.
Right, so rail car is about 4 trucks. It's just a mechanism to keep product out now. And we kind of load those at night. And so it's actually better when we have more because we staff our graveyard that way.
Continuing to work with Len Weston on revisions to our contract at the cold storage. I'd say
We're real close.
we're getting pretty close.
Storage rates, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yes. And so,
For State Center, the Evergreen Virtual Academy. There's Evergreen Virtual Academy,
So to me,
yeah.
what about it?
What is that? Where is that?
They came from like Upper Washington.
Okay,
They were just a homeschool group of kids that came down and did a culture. If that's what you're asking.
well, it just said Virtual Academy. So.
Yeah, I know. It was, so they do, where they're located is very isolated and rural, so they do virtual, but they got together as a group and came down and did a tour. Yes, we questioned the same thing. We're like, virtual academy, but you're coming here in person. They just said they try to get out of the virtual world and get together on an annual basis and keep down. We have probably the majority of our school stewards are academies or homeschool groups or those kind of groups. We rarely ever get many public schools. And then we get a lot of summer programs. So we're getting ready to get ramped up for our summer programs and tons of tours for summer programs.
Interesting.
Yeah. Tori, you want to talk about the STEAM position?
The change in the direction we're gonna go, yeah. So, Morrow County School District approached me about 2 weeks ago, and that they are, the current teacher, Devin Bailey, is leaving, and they have a hard time filling that position, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to where that employee is going to be a Port of Morrow employee now, and not a school district employee. So that lifts a lot of the teacher requirements and certifications and stuff, so now it's gonna become a teacher that's gonna teach with a contract to the school district Monday through Thursday during school years, reflecting how it currently operates. And then in the off time or Fridays or however, that person is gonna work with the Sage Center now and provide education opportunities in the Thank You Space classroom. The school district is going to gift us all the equipment inside there. They're gonna gift us everything back to us. And we're going to take over 100% operations of it. And so we'll hire that. And then they're going to pay us a monthly fee for the portion of the months that this teacher will be overseeing school district students. So it's gonna be a great direction. It's gonna allow us to use the room a lot more. It's gonna allow us to have control back of the classroom. Devin's gonna onboard this person. We're going to post this job pretty soon. It's gonna be posted at a level where we're gonna have a really quality education person in this position. And we'll be able to provide year-round education classes like we do with Science Friday camps currently. And we'll be able to have bigger impact, because right now we're doing them 5 days or 5 months, 1 day a week, 1 day a month. And they are waiting list of 30 kids, majority. So we can open that up to almost every week. And then we are even looking to expand to get to the high school level, because right now we only focus on 1st through 6th grade. And we want to get to where we can get those kids 7 through 12 into that classroom where we can utilize those printers. So we have the HD printer, we have the CNC printer, we have the laser printer, we have the 3D printers. Like, we can start in making that impact on those kids in that technology program. So we're pretty excited about the change we're going in that.
This teacher will be able to go into the schools as well.
Yep.
So they'll either become a school volunteer or on the substitute list and pass the safe schools.
Yep.
All the testing they need to be involved, so.
It's gonna be a very good mix, and I'm excited about the new direction, because we were very limited before. And then that classroom wasn't really used at full capacity either, but they put it there as an
Has the Morrow County Education Foundation check gone to the school district yet? And a question last month about it.
I don't think so.
And he said, Matt, helped him, and said it varies on timing, but is there a reason it can't go to them now?
Did we have a meeting? We haven't had a meeting.
Maybe we just need to get together to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we can get that on the calendar.
Yes,
Get that money transferred to the school districts.
we didn't have a meeting.
We haven't had a meeting with you.
No.
We had a meeting last year very late.
Yep.
But we had to get that.
Okay. Any other on that report you need? Additional?
No.
Also, I do, for the state share, this is on our report, please be looking in your, we are sending out a newsletter from the State Center now on like a monthly newsletter, and it's coming from MailChimp. The hard part is that it has a tendency to go to your junk mail for a while, but it's gonna be all the activities and events that are happening at the State Center and any updates or changes that we're doing. And you'll just get these monthly emailers. It's great information. It's kind of a new thing we're starting. We're trying to get more information out there about. And we're also doing exhibit spotlights and partnership spotlights of exhibits and stuff inside our, and then also changes, because if you've come to the State Center here recently, you're gonna notice that the hot air balloon is now officially gone and the room is repainted, and we're looking into doing a new exhibit, so it's pretty exciting. So.
I can just get it to Barracuda, I'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. Flag it to be not a restricted email, just so you know.
I think Worthington Chamber's the only one I can actually get all the time now, so they're both.
One's a floater.
Maybe take a step on the Rob's office.
Sure.
Okay, well, moving on here, we'll go to other reports. We'll go for economic development group. Kim, on your here. Kim, you got a report for us?
I do, sorry. I can't ever find my mute button unless I'm not trying to be mute. Yes, well, I do want to say exciting news about the flood mitigation project. I'm very excited about that. And thank you, Mark, for all the hard work. Appreciate it. So we had our community enhancement grant open and close, and we approved almost $155,000 in funding for projects that will total $726,000 investment in our communities. It went from Little League, the batting cage here to, I mean, it was just a whole bunch of different, the boat dock at the marina. And it was just a lot of excellent and important projects in our community. And so we're glad we were able to do that. The small house projects are on track to be completed in the middle of June, maybe third week, but hopefully the middle. They're coming in on our projected budget, which is exciting. But of course, a lot of things can happen at the end with the last stuff, but hopefully not. But they're turning out really cute. I'm excited to see how that whole project ends up. Last month, we hosted, in partnership with Hefner Community Foundation and Hefner Chamber, we hosted Eastern Oregon Funders Foundum to visit our community. That is a group made up of many different people, but it's made up of different funding organizations in the state, including the Ford Family Foundation, Oregon Community Foundation, Wild Horse Foundation. It's a Eastern Oregon outreach group that work for these groups to get out into rural Oregon, because currently, about 7 years ago, I think that Ford Family and Oregon Community felt that rural Oregon was Albany. And so we're seeing them do an outreach in our community, in our Eastern Oregon area. And so we had them here. We had about 22 people come with them, and we had them visit our chamber lunch, and then we had a community dinner in the evening, and there was only about 65 people attended that. We gave them tours of the town, and Roundhouse was also here, and it turned out to be a really great event, and we hope to do that again. So we're excited to see the outcome of that. And tomorrow's their kind of follow-up meeting, and I'll participate in that and see how the feeling was, how that went. And it's something they're going to be doing around the state, visiting communities, but I'm glad we got to be a part of that. So other than that, all of our other grant projects are on task. We're still doing all of them. I won't reiterate, it's the same report over and over, but I do appreciate all of the support we get from CREZ through the Port of Morrow and all of the work that you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Anything for her? Questions? Yeah. BCDA.
Perfect. So we are moving forward with our incubator build project, where we are going to be going out for a couple bids on a design concept to get us a base number for what the build is going to cost. And then from there, the board's going to come back and then decide on how we want to go back on funding that build. We're going to look at a couple different models, like a big building, 2-story, 3-story, multiple smaller buildings, with what that concept's going to look like to cover across all of and meet our needs for our incubator and some other partners that have invested in ourselves and that want to invest with us. And then also we have had a lot of requests for open space. We have potentially put in a lot of other executive suite spaces as well for second story, which can become long-term leases, which would support the retail piece of it. That's very volatile leasing world, with the unknowns of being in the retail, the hospitality and the restaurant world and the small business stuff. So we're working on doing that. And then we just allocated our annual contributions to our designated partners, and just working on our home buyers incentive is continued to go. I think we were looking the other day that it invested about 180,000 into childcare over the last couple of years with our annual contribution. We've put about 2.8 million into our home buyers incentive in the last 4 years. Was it 4 years? The last 4 years, we put $1.2 million in the home buyers. I thought that was a really big number in just 4 years in the home buyers. So it shows the impact our real estate agents and everybody around continues to talk like, please keep this going. It's a real key piece to our industries to recruit new employees to our area. And we are seeing a lot more new people to our community. And it's interesting to see I know there's sometimes that revolving door of some of those houses, but I think that's positional. We're seeing that our contractors are coming in for such a long term that they're coming in buying houses for 3-4 years. And then they're putting them back on the market and selling them, but they're still flipping fast. So we see that as a lot of like a flip, but also at the same time, that's an investment in our community, so that's an economic impact. So, I mean, it could be a bad thing because the houses are turning so fast, but it's also a good thing because they're investing in our taxes, they're investing in our county, they're here, they're here living and participating in what we're doing, so. And then we're hosting Safety Day with partnership with the LEPC board, tomorrow at the Safety Center, so you're welcome to come and join us from 12 to 5, come get some free hot dogs, come learn about safety, and, just enjoy and see the setup of our facility. It's exciting. We have the broad and drape with a vendor booth set up, and it's a new layout that we haven't seen, and so we're excited about. Just come see the space set up differently.
Couple questions on location. So the recent comment or the newspaper release about Good Shepherd buying the 61 acres, is that across from the grocery store?
Yes,
And then where's the incubator building? Where?
it's on Northeast Front Street between BNCC's old building or the city's building and the current splash pad.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the dog park is going to be moved here shortly because a business owner bought that, and that's where the new hotel is gonna go, so they're relocating the dog park over into the new green space underneath the EPA line, so the city's working on replacing and redoing all that area too. So there's a lot of work at the city level being done.
Yeah.
But it'll be moving the dog park.
Oh, that should be nice for Main Street. Have that 61 acres developed.
Yeah.
That'll be huge.
And if you guys don't know, Main Street's getting ready to go out for bid and being remodeled, it's gonna be redone. It's gonna be a 2-lane, it's gonna reflect what it looks like on the north side, it's gonna be reflected down all the way down with sidewalks and landscape and everything else. That's gonna be starting, and southwest corner, the loop they're gonna be doing that loop road as well here pretty soon. So you're gonna be seeing a lot of construction around the intersection of that area, but it's gonna be a huge increase to our quality of what our town looks like. So, and the 4th of July parade is going back to the north side this year, so. Yeah.
Okay, anything, Michael?
No, meeting tomorrow. So,
We're always one day off. aren't
I'll
we?
be on the hot seat for next month.
I will wait. I gotta remember for a whole month.
Okay, anything other reports? All right, for the good of the order.
Yes. So, obviously, it's that time of year, it's election, and I had a lot of communications across the county. We are still struggling with our communication. People continually complaining, we don't know what's going on for them. We've had this discussion for at least 10 years. We used to do a report. Are we not doing those anymore?
We're working on getting the next one out. I need to have a meeting with the, probably Lisa regarding that and what topics would be included in that. So we're hoping to get that rebooted soon.
We've got to do a better job of telling our community what we're doing. That is the biggest thing I hear on a regular basis. We don't know what the court does or what they're doing. And it is hard to say, hey, this is what we're doing because we just do it. I get it, but the community wants to know. And I get it. That is the biggest complaint.
Thank you, and we appreciate the comment, and we know. We know that we're not doing a good enough job there, and we're meeting now monthly to try and start tackling how we're going to do this. We will do electronic, we will get more information to newspapers. We will use the chambers to push stuff out, and we'll get some kind of a newsletter back in the mail to people.
It amazes me how many people really want to know. And I know that we do a lot of stuff on Facebook, but I am here to tell you, there's a lot of people that don't even look at Facebook. So we can't just rely on one source. So anyway, I'm on a rant, but I thought that that was important enough. But I've heard that message loud and clear across the county. We need to do a better job.
No, it's taken. We got it.
I know my sister called up Mark, and I know he probably heard it, I thought I told her it's off.
I've had that question many times. All right.
The board likes to move dirt around.
So let's do upcoming events and then we'll we'll take a break and go into executive session. We need to talk to Jake for a second here.
Okay.
Budget meeting, you're gonna be meeting tomorrow, 3:30. Is anyone going to the PNWA conference June 10th through the 12th in Bethlehem?
Like, no.
Okay.
No.
And June 11th, our regular commission meeting, we still have somebody gone, is it Mark?
Yes, he will be gone. The only reason I wrote date change was because if you were going to the conference.
Okay.
But yes, Mark will be gone. He'll be getting back that way. We told him he could come in his flip flops, but.
Right. Right. He's on some water somewhere in the States. So June 11th is still okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
It's appreciated because I schedule staff around it and everything, so.
Okay.
Unless,
No.
Everybody's looking at me.
No,
I was, hey, you're not gonna be here either. I don't, I mean, we can move it if we need, but.
I think we're good.
Okay. One other thing, that it's thought of is there is a CEO review
Yes.
due.
Brandy and I
We've
talked
done it in
about.
June.
No, we do it in May.
What's that?
May.
Really?
Mhm.
So I'm behind them. Month behind.
It's okay.
I printed them out, I'll give them to you. I think what we've done in the past
Yeah.
is you've done them individually and then come together, so next meeting, I'll advertise it, because obviously it was not advertised. It's
Right.
You guys will be able to discuss it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And
And do
form
that.
your committee and,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you gotta be given notice. Of that. Here's your notice.
Brandy and I talked about it this morning.
Yeah, so I printed them off for you, so I do have them.
That's all I had. Other than that, we're good. We'll recess it for a bit. Let me read mine. Spiel. We'll recess. Before we're holding the executive session meeting for the permissible reasons stated below under ORS 192.6602. Representatives of the news media and designated staff and other persons shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience will be asked to leave the room. The public virtual Zoom meeting link will be closed during the executive session as per regular executive session meetings are not subject to HB 2560. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report media deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously noted. No decision will be made in this executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session, welcome back the audience into the room in person and open the public virtual meeting with the end. A, for the purpose of consideration of deliberations with the court's executive director and other staff members that have been designated by the court, they negotiate real property transactions, or S 192.6602E. And B, for the purpose of consultation with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of the public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed, or S 192.6602H. So what time is it? It's 3:39. We'll take a 5-minute recess and then we'll reconvene in executive session. It's 5:45. We're back in regular session. Before us, we have more discussion about the CDA. So CDA needs a fiscal agent. keep. Keep on rolling. And I'm asking the board tomorrow be at this issue
Okay,
for a short period of time.
did you make that a motion?
I better not make a motion.
Oh. I move the Board of Morrow be the fiscal agent, CDA for a short period of time. Is that all you need?
How short?
He said not to give it back.
Yeah, but everybody else, but
August
maybe August, you were suggesting August, is that
Well,
correct?
I think I'm wrong.
Yeah. I would. I don't know, I said not to give it time for,
Okay,
as soon as possible, get out of the city.
uh-huh,
I'm assuming she will take 3 months, so
oh,
that would visit October 1st. Or. Something, I don't know.
So your motion is,
for a short period of time.
Okay,
I could put a deadline and then, well, the only choice is we keep going or there's a problem.
Correct.
So maybe, yeah.
you're second to that.
I'll second that. Okay. For discussion.
Did you put in a date or not? Didn't hear.
No, I didn't.
A short period of time.
So, if you put in a date, ignoring the other issue you've been discussing, you could always extend that date, and that date would be in place when Joe used his persuasion to tell the CDA board that that's the deadline, folks. And then you can always agree at longer. That's just a comment.
Would you like to amend that with the date?
Sure, but we're talking October 1st, is that? Man, I don't want,
I think you can ignore that issue. Why don't you say July 1st
Okay, July 1st, and like you said.
or August 1st?
Next said it is.
okay, I'll make amend the motion to July 1st.
And I'll second.
Lisa, weigh in if I'm wrong.
I can't, I'm worried about an employee issue, that's all.
I know.
August 1st.
We're in
Look,
session.
Yeah.
when that date comes up, when we face that issue, we will do something different probably.
We got a motion on the floor.
Because I would really like to put out there to the CDA board that we employ a contract employee sooner than later. Is that something that we can ask at this time? It would make things smoother in the future to find a fiscal agent, wouldn't it? Or not?
I would agree with John that at some point, there probably needs to be discussion for the CDA and whether they would consider a contract with that entity to resolve these issues, so that we're not stuck having to deal with these issues.
What in?
CDA.
That might be a good motion.
Yeah.
Or,
But we do have a motion on the floor.
But the commission date in July. That would be.
I think the motion is more ambiguous than that.
The motion right now is that we would do it until July 1, be the fiscal agent until July 1, correct?
Yes,
That's the motion, right? Amended motion.
So
Yes.
our board meeting is what, July 9th?
So how about August 1? And
Yeah.
we discuss it at the July meeting. And I'm gonna make a motion here shortly that we propose to them to make a contract employee progress towards that. I would love to have that issue resolved between the two parties. And we can move forward in many different areas.
Would you consider August 1?
Yes, I
amendment?
would. Yes, we would.
So there's a second amendment. August 1st. And Rick will have second that amendment to August 1st. So, we have a motion on the floor to be fiscal agent for the CDA until August 1st. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Me.
Okay. Or, vote passes 4-1.
And I just want to say that I understand the importance of it, but we've kicked this can down the road twice now. We gave them a deadline, now we're just giving another deadline. And it sounds like after this deadline, we're going to give another deadline. And I think at some point, the CDA needs to understand that they need to make decisions, and they're not. Literally, anybody that attends the meetings can verify that, and
I must admit, it's one of the most frustrating meetings to listen to.
it is.
It's been my most frustrating meeting.
Yeah, I just, as a small business person, if I don't do something, it doesn't get done.
That's right.
It's just really hard to not see something get done. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry for the, I would like to make a motion though that we propose to the CBA that the executive director get contract position. Yeah, I guess that's my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, John moved, Kelly seconded. Any discussion on that?
Finally, Chuck.
Can we discuss? Can we discuss?
Hmm?
Can I discuss?
Yeah, of
Sure.
course.
Okay,
Sorry.
contract to supply work, not contract employee, contract to supply work.
Okay,
And then Emily could be an employee of the contractor,
thank you.
just a thought.
Yeah, I would amend my motion to say that a contract to supply work to the CBA. In other words, whatever language it needs to be.
Okay, and you're good with that?
I don't understand it, but yeah, I don't understand how that would work, but we just.
Maybe, I could add to that to develop a job description and then hire a contract.
Oh, definitely, the contract would have all of those things in it.
I think that it's implied in the contract, okay.
Yeah, there would be a scope of work and a salary and all of those things
So
in the contract.
So for clarification, Lisa, when you said work for this. How would you say that?
I think contract employee contradicts itself.
Right.
I don't think you're a contract employee.
Your contract.
You're contracted to do work for the CDA.
Right.
And any other employees that.
Yeah,
the
it'd
first
be
one
management,
would be
it'd
on.
be a management agreement.
Okay.
I think. Did Sam's still there? Sam? Am I wrong about that?
Well, I'm a little confused. Were you thinking in terms of the CDA would contract with somebody to do this, or were you thinking the Port of Morrow would contract to do somebody this?
I'm sorry, the CBA would contract.
Yeah, so when we're talking about a job description, that's a CDA problem. That's not a Port of Morrow problem. And CDA needs to hire a contract agency, who has employees, and the contract agency would employ people to do this work. So that's how I see it. I could be wrong, Lisa.
Yeah, I don't think that was the intent. I think the intent was to contract someone to do the work, not to go to an employment agency and contract the work. No, we weren't talking about that. We were talking
Oh.
about just someone in the field that
Well-
can do that contract would sign an agreement saying, this is their scope of work, this is what you will do for the CDA.
The difference is independent contractor, employee.
Yes,
Yes,
there is no
There we go.
contract.
Independent contractor, that's the word.
That would be a contract with CDA, not a contract with the Port of Morrow. Okay,
Right.
that's what I agree. That's, I
Yeah,
agree
okay.
completely.
Yeah, exactly agree with you.
Yeah.
Independent employee or contract employees is not the right word.
So why are we as a Port Commission taking formal action to recommend this when we could just recommend it?
Well, I was just gonna say that Yeah, no, I was just about to say that similar thing, but I guess I was just hoping that we would have a unanimous decision or some, majority decision by the Port of Morrow to recommend this, to give Joe something to stand on when he goes there and.
Yeah, and I'm willing to do that. I'm just thinking, why are we taking when we vote, that's a pretty serious.
The last time we didn't vote and then we kicked it down to camp, so when we, yeah, exactly,
I don't know that we can't make them do anything. That's the problem.
No, what
And
you're
so-
doing is you're directing your board members.
And I think.
Go make a proposal.
Yeah, make a motion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So I would amend my motion to say, I would like to make a motion to have our port representative. Make a motion to hire an independent contractor to provide the executive director services to the CDA.
do we wanna just limit it to executive director or services?
Management contract.
Management contract, independent contractor to provide management services to the CDA.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
Yes, so. Is there anything that we're proposing now at this point that would be. Become a legal issue for us in the future?
So I would say if we don't intend it to be Greg Smith, and we just have to say, oh, we're gonna go advertise for somebody else, possible.
Why? Is
Maybe
he
that might be some,
an at-will employee?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's saying no.
Is he? No.
I have no idea, I mean, I would assume that's.
Would he consider it retaliatory, just getting a way around him
He
without?
doesn't have any kind of contract.
So the question was maybe something that the lawyer might address. Are we doing anything today that would increase our exposure? I think it's Kelly's point. No, because we're not doing anything. We are kicking the ball down the road a ways. And when we decided to actually no longer do this work, August 1st or whenever, that's when we expose ourselves to liability. We all are so frustrated by just kicking the ball down the road, but as long as we kick the ball down the road, we're not increasing our exposure, in my opinion.
Yeah, the purpose for my motion is simply to, let's clean up the ability for someone else to take over as fiscal agent. Or clean up the CDA's operations so that it's not entangling the
Yes.
fiscal agent, whether it's us or the next person.
Yeah.
Honestly. Say we do, someone else wants to apply, I don't know who would do it, I guess the fiscal agent has to do it, apply for an OLDCC grant. Again,
It's not possible.
okay, no matter who the fiscal agent is.
Correct.
Okay, never mind. But, I mean,
I would. I'd rather recommend you do that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Rather than. Demand you do it, you know what I mean? I don't know, that we're making a recommendation that you bring this up.
That's what we did.
I think it's a
That was
recommendation.
the motion.
I think for liability purposes, I'm more comfortable with just having a strong recommendation from the Port of Morrow that be a consideration moving forward. Because I think by doing so, it may limit how much Port of Morrow has to continue to be involved.
Well, and he could do that at the same time that he says we're willing to do it until August 1st. And we would suggest you work on a management agreement.
unfortunately, we've seen how efficiently the CDA board works. That's the only thing, but anyway,
Maybe if they get their issue,
Yeah.
maybe they get their issues resolved, they'll be happier.
You want that motion to still be?
I mean, if you'll take this strong recommendation from the port commission, I'll I'll withdraw the motion, but please argue the point that we really feel strongly that
We don't want to continue to do this.
we don't want to continue to do this. And here's one step that would make it easier for someone else to be a fiscal agent in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
I think still we need to contact those people too. I don't think that, I don't think that the thumb's been put down on. Yeah, if it means this much, it doesn't just mean this much to us. There's other people involved that it means that much to. There's Umatilla County, there's Morrow County, there's, you know, we're just not the only ones that are capable of doing this. And we've done our turn.
Yeah, but.
Taylor said no, Morrow County said no, the tribes have said no. Umatilla County suing us.
Well, for the time being, let's see if mood improves when the lawsuit ends between them, hopefully. I don't-
So I will definitely take that as recommendation. So you'll rescind your.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feels some frustrated with this.
Yeah. Okay,
Farm 6 management agreement.
was there any, you had other, more, John?
Oh, I just had some people contact me.
Part 6.
Part 6
Management agreement,
management.
negotiation and execution.
So you want us to, okay, or?
No, authorize Lisa to negotiate.
Okay.
and-
Part 6.
Oh, yeah, you're right, we had that table,
Yes.
so we want to go back to that farm 6 management.
Can I ask one question, Lisa?
Yeah.
Are we in a big hurry to do this?
Yeah, they're out there farming, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yes.
so, yes.
Yes, we can do that.
Just seems like a lot to go through in a day. I just hate getting these great big packets and then just saying, okay. Just,
Well, I think
That's
I think we've identified the
Huh?
nature.
That's why we
that
line
we
it.
need to.
yeah, I know, I get that, but in the end, it's us.
What's the?
I mean, I don't know that if anybody read it.
What's the name of this?
We've already made a motion originally for you to negotiate a contract
Consensus.
or a farm lease agreement and give you the authority to do that. Have you not,
Farm management agreement.
a farm management agreement. So
You gave the
Consensus.
original negotiate.
Yes,
Oh.
we would have to.
So
Yeah.
I need a motion
Yes,
to do so.
yes.
So I would make a motion that we authorize staff to continue to negotiate a farm management agreement under discussion and you're not asking us to have you sign it yet,
When we're done.
but didn't we have questions as that we needed to answer before we finished?
I don't think so.
Well, I think that was Kelly's point too, Rick, that,
Can you bring it before us?
I have no problem with you continuing to negotiate the contract, but let me resend the motion, so I have no problem with. Yeah. I think there were some questions we had in the agreement that we wanted answered.
Okay.
Which I thought by giving you the authority to continue to negotiate, we should get the answers to those questions, that was my thought.
and bring it back.
Bringing it back to the commission for a final blessing that meeting.
Do we need an emergency meeting or?
We will, if we can do that around another meeting,
Yes, we don't have to, we can get it back before.
right?
We could do a Zoom meeting.
It would be a really quick,
Yeah,
True.
let's just, when we
Okay.
get to this point, let's try to schedule a special meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we probably don't need anything because you've already told us.
That's all.
Somebody out there.
It's already got the authority to.
yeah, that's why.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were going to authorize her to sign, that's.
Yeah, I think we have.
That's what you did on the other ones, but we can bring this one back. That's
Yeah,
fine.
and this whole loan is really through a curve with this, we should add it down, but all this taxability stuff is really slow this process.
And I think I'd like to hear that a little bit, maybe, or maybe Eileen has something she could send out to us, informational about what that,
I'm not sure.
why it's like that.
I think it'd be a fairly, I mean, just if the answers are there, I'll zoom in. You have an executive session, start the points that we asked about. And then we'll come out.
next week or two, has anyone gone on vacation?
Anybody matter?
I got Starlink, so just.
I think you have rights at council vacation, so.
I haven't pulled that card yet.
So you get a hold of you anytime you need it, so.
Okay, so you got correction now, Lisa?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to you.
So,
Brian.
there was a request, or a question about how's the land, the lot with coils at Kinzu, the sale going through, where are we at with that?
Jacob talked to the surveyor and sent him a map and let him know.
Okay, so.
Just,
It's moving forward, yeah. I called Jay just the other day.
All right,
Yeah, like, it was last week.
okay, Kim asked me to ask,
Oh, okay.
she, they don't communicate or something.
Because I had a question about,
Married now, right? They don't communicate.
so I called him, told him, well, we're starting the process with the surveyor. So it's gonna be 90 days.
it's gonna be 90 days, cause it's
Yeah.
a partition
Yeah.
Okay.
or lot line.
Mhm.
And industry meeting, I mentioned, expressed an interest in sitting in on that Zoom. I just want to hear what they talk about, and how they talk about it. I'd be curious if it's okay to attend.
We're still having,
Yeah.
we're still having one on Monday, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna try this over too. I'm
Okay.
traveling.
Let's go to.
If that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, and that's it.
Okay, I would just recommend though, because it's still core business, that if we have a quorum, we probably have to post that. Because you're still talking about core business.
Are we gonna have a forum?
For what?
No, just.
I think it's
John,
John, they were the ones that asked, didn't they?
Johnny.
And I'm not going to speak.
I prefer not. to.
I'm just gonna.
No, but
Yeah.
there's three of them there, we're talking core business, if you got a quorum, it's supposed to post that. So I didn't know if anybody else, other than, anybody else had.
Joe's retiring.
What's that?
And he's just sitting back with a big grin on his face.
You gotta solve this thing. Can't wait for this.
Okay.
All right, anything else for the board? Okay. Looks like our adjourned meeting, so wait.